You believe you possess a soul. You believe that if a man in a lab coat told you to kill a stranger, you would stand up and refuse. You have played this scenario in your head 1,000 times, and in your imagination, you are always the hero. But statistics say you are lying. History says you are lying, and the darkness in your own nature knows you are lying. You are not the rebel you think you are. You are just a machine waiting for the right operator to push your buttons. In 1961, a psychologist named Stanley Milgram built a room to prove just how fragile your morality actually is. Imagine the scene. A basement at Yale University. No windows, just a table, a shock generator, and a man screaming in the other room. The participants were not Nazis. They were not criminals. They were teachers, postmen, engineers, good people like you. They were told it was a memory experiment. If the learner makes a mistake, you punish him. Keensebal's a slight tickle, but the learner keeps failing. And the man in the gray lab coat says, the experiment requires that you continue. 150 volts. The man in the other room screams, get me out of here. My heart is bothering me. You look at the man in the coat. You sweat. You tremble. You ask to stop, but he says calmly, you have no other choice. And here is the horror. You don't stop. You bite your lip. You apologize under your breath. And you flip the switch. 300 volts. The screaming stops. There is only a terrifying, dead silence from the other room. And yet, 65% of people went all the way. They pushed the switch to 450 volts. Danger. Severe shock. Why did they do it? Did they enjoy the pain? No. The footage shows they were in agony. They were weeping. They were digging their fingernails into their own flesh. They hated what they were doing, but they did it anyway. Why? Because of a psychological switch called the Agentic State. This is the mechanism of your enslavement. It is the moment you hand your conscience to someone else. In the Agentic State, you no longer see yourself as the author of your actions. You are just a tool, an instrument. You tell yourself, I am not responsible. He told me to do it. I am just doing my job. Just doing my job. The most dangerous sentence in the history of the human language. It is the sentence that builds the gas chambers. It is the sentence that drops the bombs. It is the sentence that destroys the world. You are breathing a sigh of relief. You are thinking, thank God I wasn't in that basement in 1961. But this is the trick. The experiment never ended. It just scaled up. The laboratory is now the entire world. Look at your life. Look at your job. Look at the device in your hand. Who is the man in the lab coat today? He doesn't wear a uniform anymore. Sometimes, he is a corporate algorithm, telling you to maximize engagement, even if it destroys teenage mental health. Sometimes he is a quarterly revenue target, telling you to lay off 1,000 families to make the line go up. And you do Italiano, you send the email. You write the code, you enforce the policy. You feel bad about it. Maybe you complain to your wife at dinner. Maybe you drink to forget. But you flip the switch because the experiment requires that you continue. Because you have a mortgage. You are in the agentic state right now. You have outsourced your morality to the system. The genius of the modern system is that it breaks the 450 volts into 1,000,000 tiny shocks. No single person pushes the button anymore. We just pass the paperwork. One person designs the drone. One person writes the software. One person approves the budget. No one feels like a killer. Everyone feels like a bureaucrat. This is the banality of evil. It is not a monster with horns. It is a nice guy in human resources saying, my hands are tied. It is you remaining silent when you should speak. Because you don't want to make things awkward. Every time you choose comfort over conscience, you are tightening the straps on the electric chair. So, how do you escape the room? How do you become the 35% who refused? Milgram found something fascinating about the rebels. They didn't just say no at the end. The people who disobeyed at 450 volts were the ones who started asking questions at 150 volts. Disobedience is not a sudden explosion. It is a habit you build in the small moments. If you cannot say no to a small request you disagree with, you will never say no when the stakes are life and death. You are training yourself for compliance every single day. You are practicing your own slavery. To leave the agentic state, you must accept a terrifying burden. Total responsibility. You must accept that I was told to is not a defense. It is a confession of soullessness. You are the final authority on your actions. No boss, no government, no algorithm outranks your own conscience. This is a heavy weight. It means you might lose your job. You might lose your status. You might lose your friends, but consider the alternative. The alternative is to be a shell, a vessel for other people's will. The alternative is to wake up at the end of your life and realize you never actually lived it. You just followed instructions. The man in the lab coat is still standing there. He's waiting for you to push the next button. He is waiting for you to scroll, to click, to obey, to conform. He is banking on your cowardice. He is betting that you will choose safety over sovereignty. Prove him wrong. Stop looking for permission to stop. You don't need permission to be a human being. The experiment is over when you say it is over. Stand up from the table. Unplug the machine. Walk out of the basement.